Sholos, this is Vongetlemen. I'm here with my latest deck. This is a variant of my previous deck that runs my favorite tuner ever, which you're about to discover when you look down. Now, the main engine of this deck is TeamEDM Avenger, and it runs 3 of them for that very reason. Now, for those of you that don't know, if you have no cards in your hand and a monster you control is destroyed as a result of battle, you can special TeamEDM Avenger from your graveyard at the same level as the destroyed monster. Damn, you say that's broken. Yes, I say, that's broken. Especially since you can dump all 3 Avengers in the graveyard as early as turn 1 with this card, Inferno. You discard cards, and then you send that many cards to the Infinity cards to the graveyard. So you discard 2, you bury 2 Avengers. You start with an Avenger and Inferno in your opening hand, you smile and wink at your opponent. It's that easy. Then the number 1 searcher card in this deck is Pyramid Turtle. I'm running this deck with only 2 Pyramid Turtle and I don't know why. I thought I had 3 Pyramid Turtle in it, but I was wrong. I, however, have never failed to top deck into a Pyramid Turtle whenever I need one. I ran in straightforward Infinity previously, so I'm the man who knows how to top deck. If you know how to top deck, run it with 1 or 0. Top deck it when you don't run it. That's how you can tell you're a true Infinity player. And the next search we use in this deck is Tomato. Not quite as good as Turtle, but it can still search just about everything in this deck.
And this.
And it searches Avengers, which we will talk about the importance of later. This brings us to Goblin Zombie. This card is amazing. It's searchable with Pyramid Turtle, and when you use it as a synchro summon, you add a zombie to your hand. But I don't want cards in my hand, you say. Yes, you do, I say. And I'm going to show you why in just a second. Dark Grepher is one of the reasons. Because you discard, you bury Avengers.
They're not both Dark Greffers, that's
one of them's Armageddon Knight. These 2 fall into the categories of stuff that dumps Avenger in the graveyard. You can run this deck with 2 Dark Grepher and 0 Armageddon Knight, but I like Armageddon Knight because when you bring it out with Tomato and bring it back with Call of the Haunted, you still get to bury an Avenger. Next, we have the zombie cards that never die. Zombie Master, which is the reason you run Goblin Zombie, because you can use it as discard fuel for Zombie Master. Mezuki, because you can use it with because you can add it to your hand, discard it with Zombie Master, search it with Pyramid Turtle, Tune, and then Special. And then Spirit Reaper, because every deck needs a Spirit Reaper. Every deck.
That's right. Not Psychics.
Every deck.
Not
Next
Psychics.
we have the cards that never stop coming back from the graveyard. We've got Super Rare Level Eater. Super Rare Level Eater.
It's a price. Don't worry about it, YouTube.
Then we have Plague Spreader Zombie, which is sort of a must in any deck that runs zombies. Then we have a really interesting and really underrated card, Beast of the Pharaoh. And when Beast of the Pharaoh is searchable by Pyramid Turtle, special summonable with Mezuki and Zombie Master. And when Beast of the Pharaoh is used as a synchro material, you can special 1 level 4 lower zombie in your graveyard. This can be Beast of the Pharaoh. This can be Zombie Master, this can be Mezuki, this can be anything. It's beautiful, it's glorious. Next we move to the Spell Trial lineup. We got the standard out of the way, we got our deck staples, we got Reborn, Book of Moon, Foolish Burial, MST, and Dark Hole. This deck only really needs 1 MST. Next we've got our generic trap lineup, Solemn Judgment, Call of the Haunted, Bottomless Trap Hole, Mirror Force, and Torrential. If you need to know why you would run these in a deck, stop watching this video. Next we've got 2 Dark Engine cards. You've got Allure, which is nice for early game drawing, and even late game, because if you pitch your hand, you're probably pitching cards you didn't need anyway. And this little gem, not a lot of people seem to be running it, even though it's a beautiful card, Veil of Darkness. The way it works is when you draw a dark card, during your draw phase, you can send it to the graveyard and draw another card. But this also applies to Veil of Darkness. So you can draw and cycle through like 5 cards a turn with this card. Bury all of your Avengers, get rid of Goblin Zombies you don't need, put Level Eater in the graveyard, and cycle through your deck so you can get the spell traps you need. This card also makes sure you're not stuck with extra monsters in your hand, so you can keep using TeamEDM Avenger's effect, which requires you to be handless. Then we move on to 3 Lolzy Engine cards for this deck. You've got 1 for 1, which should be obvious why you're running it in this deck. It can search Avenger, and it has a discard cost. And it can search Level Eater, and you can use it Goblin Zombie to pay for the discard costs later game, so you don't have to worry about choking up your hand. You've got Book of Life, brings back Pyramid Turtle, Zombie Master, Mezuki, Beast of the Pharaoh, everything you need, and the -1 your opponent's graveyard is really, really nice in this format. And we have this lovely gem, Creature Swap. Now, all of these cards are Battle Searchers. All of these cards are cards you want in the graveyard. This card makes your opponent cry when you give it to him. Your opponent will always cry when you Creature Swap them. Sometimes only on the inside, but there will be tears involved. And finally, we come to Trap Stun. Why would you run Trap Stun, you ask? 1, because Trap Stun's an awesome card. 2, because we're running this little baby, Royal Oppression. The way it works is Royal Oppression allows you to nail your opponent's monsters but keeps you relatively safe, because you can use Royal Oppression to start turtling. Literally. You play Pyramid Turtle, your opponent whacks it. You special 3 Avengers and another Pyramid Turtle. If they don't want you to explode on them forever and ever, they gotta start paying life point costs. And after they've paid enough life point costs, you just summon anything and whack them with it.
And also EA damage stuff.
Now, I'm getting to some of this deck's combos. It's pretty straightforward. You use this card, you discard any number of these cards to put 3 of these in the graveyard. Then, you set one of these, you normal it, you ram an opponent's monster, whatever. You special something, like Mezuki. Special 3 of these. You tune 8. You got 1 8 here. You RFG Mezuki. You bring back Turtle. You got another 8. And then if you want to tune it to Scrap Dragon, destroy one of these, do whatever. If you've got other cards, you can bring back Beast of the Pharaoh, tune, bring back Pyramid Turtle, tune again. That's like 3 8s off of attacking once. It's pretty good. Brings us to the extra deck lineup. First we've got Armory Arm. This card is strangely useful in this deck because this card is this and this. And believe it or not, you may end up in this combination a lot. It's also a level 3 one of these, and Level Leader. And you'd be surprised how frequently you can go into Armory Arm. And a lot of the time when you go into Armory Arm, you can trip this thing's effect, which allows you to special another zombie, which allows you to start your engine all over. And you've got these, which are the 2 generic 6s. I mostly run them in here so I can get stuff off of Pyramid Turtle. I'm going to take Splendid Rose out for an Iron Chain, but for whatever reason it's been easier to find an Ultra than it has a Rare. And then we've got this card, Stygian Sergeants. Video game promo, kind of annoying to find these days, but this card is beautiful. This card is 1 Avenger plus just about any other monster in this deck. And this baby can effectively knock out 2 monsters your opponent controls a turn, or knock out 1 monster and swing for 3,000. It requires Infernity Avenger to be the tuner though, so you can't go into a Plague Spreader. And we've got Chaos King and Black Rose. And there is going to be a Scrap Archfiend in the final build of this. And the way it works is when you get special level 4 Infernity Avenger, you can tune it with Beast of the Pharaoh, these 2, bring out Chaos King, which is a really underrated card, special another monster like Zombie Master, and then tune another 8. And right there you've gotten Chaos King, which can whack over the majority of monsters in the meta these days, because most boss monsters don't have more than 2600 defense. Or you can go into Black Rose, which is your emergency nuke, and then call priority on Black Rose, use this effect afterwards to special summon, so you still got a monster to cover your ass. And then we have the 8s of this deck. You've got Stardust, RDA, Colossal, which are the standard picks. And then we've got 2 Doom Dragon, which is an incredible card in this deck, because you're going to be doing a lot of your tuning main phase 2. So you can bring out this sucker right here. Let's just start blamming your opponent for lots and lots of damage. And then we've got 100 Eyes Dragon, which I can't actually tune into with this deck because I don't run Fiend non-tuners. But it's an Ultra. It's kind of sexy looking, and this is in here as long as I don't have Scrap Dragon. And you've got Dark End Dragon, which is your answer to Shooting Star Dragon, Red Nova Dragon, just about everything. It's kind of a big deal. Beautiful card. I would run 2 of it, but I don't have 2 at the moment. This deck was built on kind of a cheap budget. You finally got Mistworm, which is poor man's Trish. If I had Trish, I'd run it in this deck. If I had Trish, I'd run it in every single deck. But unfortunately, it's Trish. Trish. Anyway, Mistworm still hasn't lost any of its viability since Trish came out, because bouncing 3 is still incredible, especially late game. Getting into it's as easy as level 4 one of these, Level Leader, 1 of these, and then 2 level 4 monsters, which is easy if you've got Zombie Master. You can normal this, effect Zombie Master, ditch a card, special the card you ditched, bring it back out. By now, this deck's all messed up. This deck gets messed up. This deck is like everywhere. Your opponent's like, I'm gonna do stuff, and you're like, no, cards. Onslaught. You just bring the hurt to them. This deck's kind of solidly countered by control decks because it relies on your opponent going aggressive. But since a lot of the decks you should be used to facing these days are aggro-based, you can usually feel pretty safe by setting a monster and ending. Your opponent usually doesn't bother sinking removal early game, which is a stupid thing to do against this deck.
Start wrapping it up.
And even if you're wrapping it up, you sir?
Yeah, start wrapping it up.
I was going to burst into wrap there, but I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so if your opponent doesn't waste removal on this early game, then they start losing. And if they waste all their removal early game,
You make synchros and then you win. Deck vid
Moral of the story!
Okay, we're out. Vongetlemen is now out.